What up, what up, what up? This is RJ Fantasy Football Talk, and we're back again for another episode. We're doing our second part of our receivers, but first, I would like you to go back and check out last week's episode where we did the tight ends, and we did tier
Yeah,
leagues, and they're also, third, fourth rounders. It depends on your league, so you probably can get them early. So those are guys you'll go early with. What's going on, brother?
hey, nothing much happening here. Except for a whole lot of technical glitches. Sorry, everybody, for the slow start on everything, getting the tier one and tier two list up. In case you haven't seen them, hopefully you have. If not, make sure you go back and watch them. Uh, a lot of stuff going on with the NFL right now. I'm just
Yes.
For
Yes,
instance,
yes,
I
yes.
think I can't remember whether this was live on the show or not, or whether this is just a discussion we had to a little bit after it. Uh, but we talked about the Hall of Fame game uh, last week, but like the very next day, I think is when the they announced that the Hall of Fame was canceled. And then in the news today, we're saying that they're canceling the first week and the last week of the preseason, so there'll only be 2 weeks from the scheduled preseason play. Getting a little bit nervous. About,
No, not really. I'm trying to figure. I think it's weird that they doing the first and the fourth week. I can see if you did weeks one and two, and then you played like week three and week four preseason game, because most guys are like your stars are not playing in week four anyway. And you found out who your starters are by week three.
right,
So I mean, it's strange, but I'm still confident the season will go on. I mean, because we all know they're trying to make their
right.
money, so they're not gonna lose any money. So
Well, I don't
they're
know. I don't
making
know. So they might lose a little bit if they have to keep
no.
canceling things. I'm
I
not
don't.
like I said. I think they're gonna definitely try to keep proceeding with everything, but there's been a lot of cancellations. We probably should have expected some of this to happen,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the the truth is, there's that sudden spike that's been happening in a lot of places. So you have to wonder long term, are we going to see some repercussions where they're going to end up starting the season but having to shut it down at some point? I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
I don't think so. I think they passed the rule last week
Right,
where they're gonna cover up the first 6 to 8 rows of the stadium in tarps, and they're gonna do
right,
advertisement. So those people that's paying for those seats up front, they're gonna make their money back just off advertisement from obviously the big companies
right.
that they're gonna put out there. So they got away, and I think they thinking by August all this should be cleared, not cleared but down.
Not
I don't
happening.
think so, but I mean it's a big business,
Yeah,
so they're not gonna lose billions of dollars just because
I
COVID.
say this. Uh, we have the NBA that's supposedly starting soon, and then baseball. So we're gonna see some test runs for a couple of
Yeah.
sports before things get started. I'm hearing there's some audio issues. I'm trying to work through. Let's see if we can get it going. But since we're starting late, I reckon we should. We You already talked about the first two tiers. Like I said, people can check
Yeah.
those shows. I guess we'll jump right into tier three, and if you're
So
ready,
for tier three, we're starting off with Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Lockett, DJ Metcalf, Debo Samuels, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, Stephon Diggs, DJ Chark, T.Y. Hilton, Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones, and Scary Terry. Um, the biggest question mark out of this list for me is AJ Green.
yeah, yeah,
Um, he's the biggest question mark. if he's healthy, I feel like he's definitely deserves to be a tier three, even could possibly move up tier two. I read a stat last week. They saying when healthy on the field, he's always been a top 14 receiver in fantasy
Yeah.
football. In the case, he has to be healthy, and that's the biggest thing. Um, I think when healthy, I would definitely take a chance on him.
Right.
I always like AJ Green, but like I said, he hasn't been on the field. He ain't played since 2018. So, and that was like he only played like 3 or 4 games in 2018. So that says a lot. He gotta actually stay healthy, and he on the contract year. So,
So between those, who are you taking first, Tyler Boyd or are you taking AJ Green?
um, I feel like you can get AJ Green probably later on down the line. I would take Tyler Boyd first because he's healthy, and if AJ Green is not there, he slides back into that number one receiver role that he had last year. And he produced last year as a number one receiver. So I would take Tyler Boyd over AJ Green first. But if you can get AJ Green, because you probably can get him later on than most guys on this list. So I would take Tyler Boyd first.
Okay.
Who do you like off this list other than them?
Other than those, as we discussed, I think my favorite person on this list is going to be. Have been going back and forth on it. I'm
Hmm.
trying to decide whether I think this is the year Calvin Ridley becomes that potential tier one guy, or do I go with DK Metcalf? Or I like Tyler Lockett, but I think we saw the fact that it's we saw an ascension in DK Metcalf where he might be that number one receiver out there. At the very least, I like him better when they get towards the end zone because he's such a big guy. I know he's going to get red zone targets. Tyler
Yeah.
Lockett's so versatile. I know he can get used like all over the field. He's going to be a big part of the offense. But when you get
Hmm.
right down to the last 20 yards, I think that's where we're going to really see DK Metcalf pick up a bit. So between those three, the
Um,
ones I'm mainly looking at.
I, I like DK. I think DK is gonna be. He got 100 targets last year. 58 receptions. He didn't quite get 1,000 yards, but he was 100 yards short. He had 7 touchdowns. So
Right.
you're pretty much correct as far as when it comes to the end zone. Um, I do think he clears 1,000 yards this year with ease.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot more receptions than he had this year.
Yeah.
I think that number goes up to about at least 75, 80.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably going to get 120 targets this year.
I mean, he was
So,
not too far with the 100 targets that he had this year compared
yeah.
compared to what Lockett had. They were a lot closer than I really expected them to be.
Oh,
Because Tyler Lockett he had 110, so it's not like it was a
yeah.
really big difference between the two of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think he can easily see 120. DK Metcalf that is this year.
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah.
definitely. Actually, man, this is a really good list. This is a talented list, man. One of my surprise people who I really want high on that you had to sell me on a little bit,
Uh,
was DJ Moore.
yeah.
DJ Moore actually, I wasn't a big
Yeah,
fan of DJ
you
Moore.
were hating on him a little bit earlier.
I ain't gonna call it hate. I call it
You
more
want to
like
believe it.
I want to believe. And
I can understand.
as, and I did my homework and I checked the stats and he had 135 targets last year, which
Mm-hmm.
was a whole lot. And I think that number stays the same
Right.
because they added a couple of receivers, but I still think he's the obvious number one there. He had 87 targets, 1175.
Mm-hmm.
I think the touchdowns need to come up a little bit, but I mean, other than that, I think he's definitely a quality tier three receiver. That if he even getting 135 targets, I mean, he's getting his targets per game.
Yeah.
You can't really be mad at. So,
Yeah.
um,
I don't know how sold I am on their quarterback situation, but I do know I like it better than the situation they had last year. So
oh
my
yeah,
guess is if he can put up almost 1,200 yards with Kyle Allen, I think he'll be all right with Bridgewater. So
I mean, I think he will too. I honestly think. I mean, you changed my mind. I will admit that. he I gotta give it to you. He definitely did his thing last year. Even with the quarterback play, Bridgewater might be a little bit better than Kyle Allen. I mean, for me personally, I like
Yeah.
Bridgewater. To me, Bridgewater just don't throw it down the field. But we had that conversation before, so I don't know how that affects
Right.
DJ Moore in the passing game. But I think you can get him. I think you can use him as at least a second receiver, third receiver on your team as far as your roster wise.
Right.
So I definitely think that. Then obviously, Courtland Sutton is a good one,
Uh huh.
and the biggest question mark is his
Right.
quarterback. Is Lockett gonna show up? Is Drew Lock gonna show up and be productive like he was last year at the end of the year? So the bad thing about rookies and second year players, like the games you play, they get the playbook on you, so they kind of see your tendencies a little bit. So does that affect him? Courtland Sutton, and they added another receiver in the draft. I still think he's the number one there though.
Yeah.
So he's still gonna get his touches. So I like him, and then obviously I like my boy Debo. Um,
I was waiting to see how long it would take you to mention Debo Samuel. So like he's been leaving that out for a while now.
well, hold up, man. I'm trying to keep my humbleness to the side tonight,
Okay.
man. So
Okay.
Debo got hurt, but I feel
Yeah.
like Debo will be back. Debo season will be back by week one, as we call him in San Francisco land.
Right.
Debo season. Tuck your chain real quick, because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be back by week one. They're saying 10 weeks,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I give him week one. I mean,
Well, the good news they
with
said the surgery went well, I mean, as well as you can have. It
yeah,
scares me because it was his foot, but we'll, we'll,
I mean,
we'll have those 2 weeks of the preseason maybe to hear some new. He might not play. He might not play at all this preseason. I wouldn't.
I
But
doubt,
you
I
you
doubt
might
it.
at least hear some feedback on how he's been running in practice.
Oh,
Let
definitely.
me ask you. We talked about two teammates at the top of this tier when we discussed Tyler Boyd and AJ Green. How about another pair
Mhm.
of teammates up here? Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Who do you like in that?
Uh, if I had the draft, I'm going Jarvis Landry
Right,
first. He's a PPR machine.
right.
I mean, he gets 100 targets a year. I mean, Odell got 100 targets last year
Yeah.
too. He got 133 targets. It's just for me, Odell ain't the same Odell from New
Right.
York. I mean, a lot of people still draft Odell based off his
Yeah.
name, and I ain't doing that. I mean, if you can get Odell later on, like round five, six, or something like that, then that's great.
Hmm.
But I ain't doing it. I mean, I'm going the other route. So that's me
I
personally.
say this about him. I when we went back to look through the numbers, I was actually a bit impressed with the season Odell Beckham Jr. had. Not because it was good, but because it was
Yeah,
better than I thought. Because he's Odell
me
Beckham
too.
Jr., so you go in with his thoughts of the receiver he was in New York, like you said. And I was thinking during the season while it was happening, man, he's been terrible. But then when I looked at it, like he's not that far behind Jarvis Landry, which is still not good for where people
Hmm.
probably drafted him last year. But
Yeah.
he still managed to be productive. So if you want to be optimistic, you can say, okay, he'll be better this year. I like you said when we were talking to DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton, you had questions about their quarterbacks. I have really big questions about Baker Mayfield. We discussed
Oh
that
my gosh.
when we did the quarterback show a few weeks back. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't. He's one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
They surrounded him with so much talent. You would think by default he'd have to get better this year, but I'm not putting my money on it. So I'm with you. If I'm gonna pick a receiver, my first choice is gonna be Jarvis Landry just because of PPR, and then I go back on. But I'm not gonna try to have either one of these as my top receiver. They're your second receiver, like you said. Maybe you probably not your. It could depending on your structure. It might be your third. You're pretty good if you have either one of them as your third wide receiver.
Oh,
But
definitely. Yeah.
but definitely they're number two guys for your fantasy group.
Oh, definitely. Now I got one for you. How do you feel about Stephon Diggs?
I kind of like him going to that offense. I think he's gonna make the Bills' offense better. I'm not sure. I don't draft we the guy that's going to be in our next tier. John Brown. I think I'm more interested in him than I am in Stephon Diggs. Number one, still going with the theme of quarterbacks. Uh, Josh Allen,
Yes.
I know he's big, top five in a lot of people's rankings, but the thing
I don't
that
know
makes
why.
Josh Allen pop as a fantasy quarterback is he gets touchdowns, not through the air, but running with his
Rushing.
legs. And if your quarterback
Yes.
is going to get more touchdowns than you, I'm not that interested in you in a wide receiver. So Diggs, I'm okay with, but no, he's not a guy I think I'd target.
Well, I think the thing that scares me is, like you say, Josh Allen accuracy down the field is he was the last
Yeah,
in the league last year as far as accuracy. And to me, Stephon Diggs only one. He only runs one route, which is a straight
right.
go. Um, I just think that scares me. A lot of people are going to draft him high though, just because of the fact he went there. And if you look back in Minnesota where he wasn't getting the ball, he kind of made a fuss about it.
Yeah,
What happens if he don't get the ball this time around?
I would say more
So
so what happens when he doesn't. It's not even going to be an if question. He's going to have some
okay.
complaints. I'm pretty sure. So I'm
I
with
mean, I mean, he complained a lot.
yeah,
He went to the media with it where he
yeah.
wanted to be traded. He didn't get the ball. So what if Josh Allen can't get the ball down the field?
He
So
can't get them.
what you?
I said I didn't like Baker Mayfield's inaccuracy. Josh Allen's even worse. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Josh Allen was
he's
the last. He was
last
the
place.
worst at the worst actually in the league last year per quarterback. So I mean, but I'm gonna tell you one I like Scary Terry from
Yeah,
Washington.
don't be fooled because
Love.
he's at the end of this tier list. These
Oh, I
aren't
love
ranked
Scary Terry.
by how we liked him. I like Scary Terry, and I like the fact that he is pretty much the wide receiver there. So
Yes,
he's gonna
man.
be a target monster. He was just a rookie last year when he was out
And he
there,
did.
and he put up numbers. I
Yes, he did.
what do we have for
Scary
Montgomery?
Terry had I gotta find him. He was in somewhere.
He
Yeah, I had him. I
Yeah,
know he
he
had
finished
919
with not 1,000. He was like 919 yards. He had 93
yards.
targets. Uh, if we did tiers like we did, lat like we're ranking him this year. Last year he would have been about a tier three. So he's pretty much we have him
Hmm.
right where he was last year. I think he'll be a little bit better. I think he tops the 1,000 yard mark for yards. Um, I have quarterback issues. Well, you'll see it's a running theme with these tier three guys, except for Calvin Ridley. There's
Yeah.
a lot of quarterback. Well, you'll say except for Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm sure, but
I mean,
that's
yeah.
here or there. But for the most part, when you look at this tier three listing, the big question mark on every single one of them, except for Calvin Ridley, and maybe this next guy, T.Y. Hilton, is their quarterback issues.
Well, it's a plus side for me with Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
The fact that they was in college
yeah,
together and they spent a couple college years together and then the pros together, I think they have a
yeah.
connection. And if you think about last year at the end when he got in the game, they started to make a connection.
Hmm.
So I think you got a whole off season to actually make that work a little bit better.
Right.
I'm not gonna be. I ain't saying Dwayne Haskins is a great quarterback. All I'm saying is that he definitely has a connection with that
Does
receiver
the new coach
that
scare
makes
you
him.
any?
No, not
Not really.
really. No, not really. I think if you watch the way Ron Rivera used Steve Smith
Hmm.
back in the day, I think he's definitely all about getting the ball down the field. Um, do I think Dwayne has to get benched? No. And I think the system fits him, so I think he'll be all right. I don't see no. I think he'll use him like Cam, and then Cam. You know how Cam uses receivers
Yeah.
like Steve Smith. I think that's the way they're gonna use Scary Terry.
Okay.
So I definitely think I would definitely draft Scary Terry, and I ain't saying I'm a reach, but I'm definitely if he's in the vicinity for me to get, I'm definitely gonna get him. So move on to tier four. Um, we got Darius Slayton, we got John Brown, we got Christian Kirk, Golden Tate, Mike Williams, Brandon Cook, Sterling Shepard, C.D. Lamb, Jameson Crowder, Alshon Jeffries, Sammy Watkins, Justin Jefferson, Marquise Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, and Preston Williams. Who do you like out of the list, man?
I think we probably have Darius Slayton a bit low on this list. Uh,
Uh,
I think he's a star. Uh, the reason he's down, you say, well, if I like him so much, why is he tier four? We had our discussion, and the reason Darius Slayton is this low is because there's a lot of good wide receivers between him. Look, in fact, they're all in this tier: Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate. And then you have Evan Ingram if he's healthy. We talked about in the last show. Of course, the number one guy there, Saquon Barkley, who catches out the backfield. There's a
backfield. So,
lot of receivers with a lot of talent
yeah,
on this list. So that's what keeps him low. I think he has the potential to be a superstar, but I'm not
yeah.
betting a high draft pick on him because, like we said, the opportunities might not be there for him. So if I have to bypass Darius Slayton, then I think the next guy I like on this list, and this is going to sound a little off because we haven't seen a lot from him, but it's when we did our sleeper show, I talked about Preston Williams, and I'm interested. I'm intrigued. He's a guy I'm going to target. we have we see like
Well,
next to nothing from him, but the little bit that we saw had me thinking because the only other guy out there is Devontae Parker, and
yeah.
while I hate their quarterbacks for the most part, I'm not a big Fitz Magic guy or Tua person, but I think there's room for Preston Parker to make a splash this year, and you'll probably get him low because who people don't know him because he didn't have an opportunity to really shine.
I think Preston Williams. I did read that like last year he started like after like week
Yeah,
3, so he actually came in and kind of
yeah,
showed enough for them to actually put him in the starting lineup after week
right,
3 as a rookie. I mean that says a
yeah,
lot honestly. So but you're right with Tua out there, Fitz Magic. You don't know the thing with Fitz Magic. He gonna throw for 300 yards. He gonna throw the ball a lot. I mean,
I,
it's just what he does.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying
say
like you.
this: if Fitz Magic was the quarterback, and I knew he was going to be for the whole year, I'd like Preston Williams even more.
Oh
The
yeah,
thing that scares me
definitely
is I don't know whether he's going to have that job or because the Dolphins are going to be
long
terrible.
enough.
The Dolphins were terrible last year. They're going to be terrible again this year. And if they're that bad, do they just say, "Hey, sit down, Ryan Fitzpatrick," and he's just sitting there knowing that Tua he's the future for the franchise.
Well, they saying Tua is gonna get an opportunity to start week
Yeah,
1, so I think that kind of affects what you get from
yeah,
him. So I don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely a late round flyer that you can
yeah.
probably get, but the person the person I like the most out of this, and I know people don't. I like Sterling Shepard.
Okay.
I had Sterling Shepard last year. He missed a lot of
Mm-hmm.
games, but the fact that when he is on the field, he's
Right.
productive, and I just think he got to stay healthy. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you ain't healthy, you ain't
Yeah.
really on the field. You ain't doing that. So if he's healthy, he's productive.
So we both tend to like the Giants guys. It's just a matter of who's gonna be that guy. And yes, for Sterling Shepard's case, how
I
long will he
mean,
be out
Sterling
there? Right.
he missed 60 games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you think about he had 83 targets and he had 57
Yeah.
receptions. So you got to do that like over a 16 game span. I think
Right.
he clears definitely he clears 100 targets and he clears 1,000 yards. So
Yeah.
he's
If
the opportunity is there for him to be the number 1 receiver. He just got to stay healthy and stay on the field, and that's probably his main problem. Do I think he stay healthy this year? But he had concussion problems last year
yeah.
too. So that's to me that scares me a little bit. Guys that get concussions, it normally happens every year or every other year, and it keeps them out a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know.
Well,
And another one, what?
I'll just say with your concern is real, but I'm thinking this is a guy you're gonna probably be able to grab as your third wide receiver. And so
Yes,
you're not losing. The thing I said the thing I love about wide receivers why I don't put a whole lot of I guess effort into it as much as I do for like running backs. There's so many wide receivers and there's so many good ones and they're gonna you're going to get numbers out of the wide receiver position, even if you have to switch it up every week. So if you're betting on Sterling Shepard as your third wide receiver, if he gets hurt, you haven't lost a whole lot.
Oh
And
no,
the
no.
reward, if he is healthy, is huge. So yeah,
Now, is one you did talk about in the last year, John Brown.
yeah,
John Brown, for a lot of people, John Brown actually was productive last year. He put in
yeah.
a lot of good work, and he might be better than Diggs going into that offense,
He
man.
was last year. Well, I mean, you Diggs was hurt, so it's
Yeah,
not
but
the fairest of comparison. But Stephon Diggs played 15 games and had 1,130. John Brown, on the other hand, he put in also 15
115.
games. Okay, they had the same, a little bit less as far as yards, but they were matched together in touchdowns. Uh,
Yeah,
they're practically the same guy. Looking at
I
their
mean,
stats, almost. And the edge John Brown has is he already has a relationship with Josh Allen, no matter
yep.
how bad he is as a quarterback. But like you said, he doesn't have that one route that he runs. So
Yeah, do you think John Brown takes away some of Diggs'
I
opportunities
would think
as
so.
far as
I mean,
think so?
Thielen did it in Minnesota, and I think John Brown's going to do the exact same thing here in Buffalo.
I think Diggs helps Brown more this year because he takes the top off. He's going to bring
Yeah.
that safety up top to kind of take away that across the middle patterns, the five and across the slants,
Uh huh.
those type of plays that John Brown is normally doing. So he's going to be have one-on-one
Yeah.
coverage probably with a number two corner who he probably can beat out. I mean, yeah, I think Beasley had 100 receptions, 100 uh, targets
Uh huh.
last year, just like John Brown. So I think the only person that's hurt in this whole thing is really Beasley. I think Diggs takes a lot from Beasley,
Potentially.
but the slot, I mean, who knows? I mean, it could work for Beasley too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Brandon Cooks may have a.
Yeah. Is
I
he the guy?
mean, I think he
He's the number
is.
one.
I think he is.
You think?
Yeah, I think he is.
No.
Will Fuller can't stay hurt.
Health.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Will Fuller can't stay healthy, but Will Fuller cooked the same way. I mean, geez,
Yeah.
both of them stay
Those
hurt. But
concussions
I,
last year had me a little bit
yeah,
frightened with him. I,
but if I was a betting man and I had to put my money on something, which I do,
yeah, of
so
course.
uh, I'm going Cooks. I think Cooks has more opportunities than. But Will Fuller, the one thing I can say, Will Fuller has a connection with
Yeah, he does.
Deshaun that Cooks don't have, and I think if a healthy Will Fuller is there, they might run
Yeah.
neck and neck with each other
If
as
I had
far
to
as
flip a
stats.
coin, I'm with you. I think Cooks is probably the guy just because we'll talk about Fuller when we get down some, but he's to me one of the most frustratingly great wide receivers in the league. So
Yes,
another guy on
I
this
mean,
list. What do you think of Christian? It's kind of opposite with Cooks going to Houston to be Deshaun Watson's guy. Christian Kirk has Nuke coming in because Christian Kirk was showing promise as being the guy once Larry Fitzgerald, I guess, eventually retires if he ever does.
yeah.
But he just got knocked down a peg.
Well, the question is he the number two receiver in the offense?
I
Does
think
he
so.
start? Is he the slot? I don't know. I think Larry is still on the other end, unless they moving Larry to the slot
Right.
because he's a little bit older. He's not faster than he used to be. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you run a Christian Kirk on the outside with Nuke and Larry Fitzgerald as your slot, then yes, he still can have this because you got to think about it. Nuke is going to take a double team. You still got to respect Larry Fitzgerald. So basically, he's running a third corner.
Right.
He still could be productive facing third corners and linebackers, like linebackers that's coming down to check. He'll burn the third corner. I mean, I think, do he live up to wide receiver tier three? I say yes,
Yeah.
but I don't think he moves up or down. I think he stays right where he at, though, honestly, because I still think Larry Fitzgerald is he's gonna not get his, but he's still gonna be effective in that offense. because they're gonna try to get him the ball at least
Yeah.
sometimes. So I mean that's what I feel about it. Manuel Sanders, how you feel about that? How you think he fares in New Orleans?
I I think there's a lot of potential for him, but everybody knows Mike Thomas is the dude. so
Yeah,
so that he's gonna be that should leave him open a lot to put up some impressive
yeah.
numbers. Um, but sort of similar to the Giant situation, there's a lot of mouths to feed over there in New Orleans. The good thing is they throw the ball like religiously.
All day long.
so
I mean,
yeah,
they have no bruiser back there. Kamara is not a bruiser. He's
he's a
more of
receiver
a
too though. So it's
yeah.
another, like we were saying about Saquon. It's he's competition for your wide receivers in a big
Oh,
way.
definitely.
So I
I don't look. I don't think he takes anything away from
right.
Thomas. What I think Thomas still get his
Yeah,
185 target,
he's
200 targets, whatever. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think so. So I will pick him though.
yeah.
I mean, just because the fact in that
Because he used
offense,
to play for the
they're gonna throw for.
49ers, or
It has nothing to do with it, man. I mean, come
just
on,
because his
man.
potential.
He's an enemy now. What are you talking about? We can't. No, I'm not dealing with him. No, no. But just because they throw the ball 55 times a game, so you got to get it. So
What about another guy on this list, Mike Williams? Uh, I feel bad for his quarterback situations, but Mike Williams was a guy who was starting to show some potential as well with Phillip Rivers there. How do you like him with Tyrod / Justin Herbert there?
I don't like him with Tyrod, um, and you know why? Because Tyrod doesn't throw the ball down the field.
Uh,
But a lot of people, I've been reading, it's crazy. A lot of people high on Tyrod, but that's just another. I don't understand.
no.
Now, if Justin Herbert comes in the game, Justin Herbert is a bigger quarterback, bigger arm. I think they. It's like him and I think he thrives with Herbert. I think he kind of falls back a little bit uh, with Tyrod.
Right.
But I mean, you can get him because I feel like Tyrod can lose that job anyway. So I would still take a chance on him,
He
me personally.
Mike
So,
Williams just passed 1,000 yards last year. Do you think he goes up or down?
um, I think he stays the same.
Okay, like rate at a
I
thousand.
think he stays. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I say this: the
It just
Chargers are probably going to another one of those teams that are going to lose a lot of games. But
that's why I say it like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
because they can be throwing a
yeah,
lot. That's the thing. Like when you're down, you're gonna have to throw a lot. I think Justin Herbert, once they start losing 4 or 5 games, then they gonna snatch it right from Tyrod anyway, and then they gonna break it in for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert may come in and actually make it better for Williams.
yeah,
I mean, me personally, because I think he's 6'6" and he can see over the line. Big guy. He's a really big guy, 200 plus pounds. So I like Justin Herbert to actually make Mike Williams better. But I mean, we just got to see. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a great team. Eckler is another one that may steal something from him because I think Eckler is a full time starter now. So I'd be a little bit leery with that one, honestly. So I still think he stays the same personally.
yeah.
I don't think he stays. I don't think he goes up or down, honestly. So,
One more guy. Well, there's a couple of guys on this list that are interesting, but Hollywood Brown. What do you think of him?
whew, Hollywood Brown. He started hot.
Yeah,
He fizzed out a little bit. Uh, my concern is really is Lamar as far as passing. Lamar doesn't pass for a lot of yards in the game.
right.
We already had this
Yeah,
conversation.
when we talked.
He went, yeah, he won a few games, more like 6 or 7 games, where he didn't throw for over 250 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had one game where he had over 300 yards. Now, and the thing is, he liked throwing to the tight end. The tight end had more touchdowns than a bunch of receivers put
Yeah,
together
that's
in Baltimore last year.
exactly.
So, um,
He's got to he's got to improve and
definitely,
get the ball to his wide receivers. Like you said, he similar to Josh Allen. He's also a guy who takes away a lot of touchdowns from his wide
yes,
receivers. I like Hollywood Brown's potential. I don't know if I like him that much in that offense, but again, we're down to tier 4, so you might be able to get him fairly late, where
Yeah,
you can gamble on him,
you can get
see what
Hollywood.
he does.
I mean, you can gamble. He can be your fourth or fifth receiver.
Yeah,
I mean, you only run it with two receivers in most leagues anyway, two to three at the
yeah.
most. So I don't think it's really nothing that really concerns you if you grab him. He could be a bad week quarterback. I mean, a bad week receiver or injury, replacement receiver. So it just depends. So moving on to tier fives, which this list is interesting.
This
We
one
got
is
D.D.
long.
Westbrook, very long. uh, we got D.D. Westbrook. We got Michael Gallup. We got Rashard Perriman, Coleman Harmon. We got Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, uh, Nikira Henry, Dante Johnson, Marquise Goodwin, Jerry Judy, James Washington, Jalen Rigger, Cole Beasley, Michael Pittman Jr., Larry Fitzgerald, Will Fuller, Henry Ruggs, and your favorite guy out of this list, Hunter Renfrow. I don't know why you like this guy so much, but it is what it is.
I've got you on film saying that you accept that Hunter Renfro is going to be awesome. So,
Is that true? I don't remember
well,
that on
I can
film, man.
pull
What
it
you
up.
talking
I
about?
can pull it up.
So,
Yeah,
out of this list, let me see. Oh man, it's a tough one, man.
it's a lot of names. This one is where you. This is probably, jeez. What do you think? Maybe round
Jeez.
10ish or something like that. When you pulling the,
10, 11,
you're you're
10,
pulling you're
11.
pulling these guys out of a head, just hoping for someone. If I'm a gamble in this one,
Oh,
other
Lord.
than Hunter Renfro, who's going to get 1,000 yards, he's not a gamble. He's a guarantee. Just so y'all know.
Okay.
But other than
All right.
that, I kind of like McCole Hartman on this list. Give some love to the Chiefs, Super Bowl defending champions. McCole Hartman is able to do a lot. He was a Pro Bowler last year from special teams. So if you get return yards in your fantasy league, he's definitely someone I target. Sammy Watkins is Sammy Watkins. He was in that last year. We didn't talk about him, but Sammy Watkins is gonna get hurt because he's Sammy Watkins. He's gonna probably pick up like 200 yards in the first game and 2 touchdowns, and then you won't hear
And
from
get
him
hurt.
again to the end of the season. So that leaves a lot of room after Kelsey and Tyreek Hill for McCole Hartman to put in some work.
Woo, go Kelsey.
So I
Oh, dead Lord have mercy. Oh
so
gosh.
I like.
I know you. I know you went there second because your wife is right there. You know, we all love her.
Yes.
We do, but I
Oh yeah,
mean,
and he's
it's
got
too many mouths to
there's
feed. It's
there's a
too many
lot of
mouths to
mouths to feed
feed.
on that team. They
It's
they
too
just
many
put
mouths
in
to feed.
Edwards Hilaire, who's gonna be uh, supposedly be. I have issues with rookie running backs. They're nice supplements, but I think people are gonna spend too big for him. But he's gonna get targets. You got Kelsey, you got Hill. Hartman's probably gonna be like fourth in the pecking order, because
Yeah.
again, Watkins is gonna be hurt. So I wouldn't spend too much. But like I said, the thing that saves you with Hartman is he's going to get special teams points for you. So
I mean, most of these guys on this list are your typical third receiver on their own
yeah,
team. Um, I'm interested in Akira Harry with the
yeah,
signing of Cam Newton.
right. I
I'm tr-
I think it's similar to
they,
the reason I like Preston Williams. You didn't see a lot, but there's enough there to whet your appetite. So yeah, I think.
yeah.
Harry,
I
do you
just
think
I'm
there's a
trying
chance
to.
of Harry becoming the number one guy there? I know Edelman is
Hmm,
Edelman, but
Edelman is Edelman. I mean, Edelman had awesome numbers
yeah,
last year. Um, do I can see it because Edelman's a slot guy.
right.
Um, I can see it. It's just we got to see how he forms a
Okay.
bond with Cam. He's a pretty big kid. He's not that
Yeah.
small. it's interesting to me because I think Cam got something to prove, so I think Cam gonna make them boys better. Uh, that's an interesting case for me. I think he's gonna do well.
Okay.
We didn't see a lot from him last year because he was hurt,
Right.
so we don't know what he's bringing to the table. It's just really it depends. One guy I do like on this list. I think Jerry Judy goes to a great situation
Okay.
in Denver um, because Courtland Sutton is the only other receiver on the other end,
Right.
and I think he starts immediately. We just got to see what Drew Lock does, but I think Jerry Judy goes definitely to a great situation
Yeah.
where he can actually get in and do work. But it just depends. But I do like Jerry Judy. We talked about Will Fuller a little bit a few minutes ago. I think
The most
if
frustratingly
he's
good guy because I said about saying what same thing. Fuller's going to be 1 week giving you 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. You won't hear anything but crickets. He's unreliable. But when he's
yes,
healthy and when he's involved, Fuller's he's a guy you can get late, and you're gonna have some really good weeks from him. But the problem is you
yeah,
don't know when those weeks are gonna be. That gets it hard for you to do. Now, there's a particular type of league, and I'm not gonna be able to remember the name of it right now. Like what did they call it? Something like a best league where you every week they just take your players and whoever has the highest scores, they just automatically go in. So once you do your draft, you don't have to do anything with setting your lineup the rest of the week, and they
yeah,
just take your best players, and I think it's your top 8 players. They just put those scores in. Will
yeah,
Fuller is built for that kind of league because you don't have to worry yourself about putting him in or taking him out. You can just leave him on your
yeah,
roster and like, okay, he's gonna give me some stuff, maybe 6 out of these 16 weeks, and you don't have to worry about which ones they're gonna be. If it's just a more traditional league, I'm not a big fan because I don't. He's unreliable.
Well, he had one game last year where he went over like close to 200
Yeah.
yards, a couple touchdowns, and then after that, he just completely disappeared.
Right.
I mean, you did not hear from him. You had to put out an APB for him, like, yeah,
Right.
where is he at? Like, we can't find him. So I just think he has to step up though, with Hopkins going from there.
Yeah.
I think him or Cook, one of those two, have to step up and become that number one receiver because either Hopkins, because the thing is, Deshaun gonna be running for his life if they can't get open.
Right.
So it got one of them got to step up and be either a quality number two receiver or the number one receiver.
Yeah.
But one of them has to step up, and that's the thing. Another one, D.D. Westbrook
Yeah.
from Jacksonville. He was productive last year, which was weird. I mean, he wasn't that bad. I mean,
He's a
because
quietly good player that you
yeah,
don't
it's
go into a
like
draft saying, "Yeah, I'm going to get Diddy Westbrook," but
D.
when
Westbrook.
you see him still on the board, you're like, "Oh, Diddy Westbrook."
D. Westbrook. He's
Yeah.
definitely not that bad. I was shocked when I looked at the numbers
Uh,
because I'm like, hold up. And people like him, like Will Fuller, didn't do nothing, but like D.D. Westbrook was
yeah.
there.
He had
He did,
101 targets, which is impressive. He
yeah.
didn't have a lot of yards to go with it, but
But the
he
targets are
got
there.
targets, and if you get in targets, you have the potential to get points, right?
Yes.
So,
I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly
right,
on that one because at the end of the day, targets is big because it shows you the quarterback is actually
looking
looking
for you,
for you.
right?
Now, if you get 20 targets in one season, you're not even thought
Yeah,
of. Now, if you
no,
get 100 targets, you're getting triple digits. I mean, come on, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to recognize that that person is definitely capable of giving you a good amount of yards, a good amount of touchdowns.
mm-hmm.
I think it's good. Now, I have one question mark on this list.
Okay,
Bashard Perriman. Do you
nope.
get the Bashard Perriman last year, or do you get the Bashard
Right,
Perriman
right.
2 years ago when he was
I
trash?
would. We had this discussion earlier this week, and I was like, yeah, I like Brashad Perriman. We were trying to figure out which tier to put him on. And I had to go back throughout his career because I for those that don't know, if you weren't into some of our pilot seasons, I dipped my toes into the daily fantasy football pool at the end of
Yes.
last year, and I had some good weeks picking up Rashad Perryman, and the issue is those weeks when he was stellar are like the only times he was that good his whole career. I read earlier where he was saying that I've always had this kind of potential, but I needed the opportunity. Blah 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 blah. Uh,
No.
but
Mhm.
where's he playing again? Remind everybody.
He's in the Jets
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, no, no Jameis
I
Winston.
wants no parts of it. Sam Darnold is the future, they say, and he's got a lot of potential, but he's still playing right now for the Jets, and
Yes,
I'm not a fan. Are you gonna
me
you
either.
gonna take a flyer on? I might take a flyer on him this late, but he's not someone I'm thinking.
Well, if you go back to one of the earliest shows we had this year, where I had him as a
Hit him a sleeper,
sleeper,
right?
I had him as a sleeper. And I guess now that we did our research on wide receivers, I really don't like him as a
Yeah,
sleeper. And the reason I say that is because Jamison Crowder really might be the best receiver out
yeah.
there because him and Sam have a
They have a
actual
connection already.
connection already. So it scares me a little bit. I think Jamison Crowder is probably the better receiver to get out
Yeah.
of from the Jets anyway, because I don't see. I just don't. Now that I did the searching and the stats, Shot Perriman don't really.
Yeah.
It's a real big if for
He's an
me.
iffy flyer on a very iffy
Yeah,
team. I'm gonna ask you. You
yes.
mentioned Judy earlier. I'm gonna ask you about the other young guys on this squad: Jalen Rieger, Michael Pittman Jr., and Ruggs. Who are you taking your
Uh,
gamble on between those three?
Ruggs. I like Henry Ruggs. I don't. I mean, you obviously you're a Raiders fan, so you know what y'all got out there. Hunter Reffers is probably in your eyes the top receiver, but I have
In
to see him
reality, he's
prove. You
gonna
got to
be the
show
top
me.
receiver. But continue.
Okay, you got to show me on that one. I like Henry Ruggs. I think he's in a good situation because I don't like Tyrell Williams
Yeah.
at all. I think Henry Ruggs and Hunter Rivers are the two starting receivers there.
Mm,
So I think it's really with tiers 5, it's more about opportunity
right.
when it comes to these guys. Like you really gotta get the opportunity to really get a chance to get those yards and get those receptions. If you ain't getting an opportunity, you're really not gonna make your
And
case.
with the word opportunity, that's why of those three young guys I mentioned, I think I like Michael Pittman Jr. the most, followed by Jalen Rieger. I like Pittman because Adam Thielen is literally the only wide receiver out there in Minnesota, and Captain Kirk has to throw to somebody. Uh,
I mean,
I, I think
uh,
now Pittman himself, I'm not a I don't think he's anywhere near the top wide receiver of the rookies that came in there, but I think he has an opportunity to look like it.
yes,
Rieger has the same kind of potential, and I think Rieger has more talent, but so far we haven't seen Carson Wentz make any of his wide receivers look good. Maybe Jalen Rieger is going to change that because he's going to be probably the best wide receiver. We had Alshon Jeffrey and Atira ranked above him, but I think that had to do a lot more with his veteran presence than anything else. Uh,
yeah, I believe that.
so
Um, I think with Philly, I think you don't believe in their receiving
I
core,
like their tight ends,
but
not their.
I
Yeah,
mean, we know you like their tight ends, but their receiving core is. I mean, you got Marquise Goodwin, you got Deshaun Jackson, who you despise, by the way.
Deshaun Jackson
Um,
is 87 years old. He's another guy. He's gonna have the best first week of the NFL, and then you're never gonna hear from him the rest of the year.
I
So
mean, the question is, does he get the opportunities in front of those guys?
I don't
Marquise
know.
Goodwin, Deshaun Jackson,
Yeah,
Alshon Jeffries. I mean, does he get that opportunity?
I don't don't know. It's hard to rank. I think he's probably better than the rest of them. I don't know whether we'll see it this year.
I think he'll year
Yeah,
away. I think,
exactly.
but I have been reading that he could lead the team
Yeah,
in targets or receptions. So I mean that speaks highly of that. But I just don't know honestly. Um, and then I think it's another one. I've been on the fence with Robbie Anderson.
yeah.
Um, I've been on the fence. I just don't know about this guy. His route tree is terrible too. Uh, he runs one route too, which is
Right.
a straight go. He does not run across the middle at all. If you watched the Jets game last year, he only ran a straight go, and he got probably 2 or 3 receptions, and he probably would get 100 yards because of the fact that's all he know is to run a straight go. And I
I don't
think
think that fits
Bridgewater,
well for where he's going.
not
Yeah,
yeah, not for Bridgewater. I think that's gonna really hurt him. I mean, his teammate Curtis Samuel might be a better
right.
option out of this group than him. Honestly, Dante Johnson is another one who
Yeah,
is a toss up between him and James Washington. Because you don't know who's gonna start out there on the other end of Juju.
and you don't know
But
whether Roethlisberger is going to be healthy and if he's going to be Roethlisberger that we know. I was reading that they potentially could have 1,000 receivers in Pittsburgh. That depends on.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm not staking a lot into
Mm-mm.
that. I didn't even Juju wasn't even that great last year, so I think these
No.
guys. I like if I had to choose between Deontay Johnson and James Washington. I think I go with Deontay, but I'm not enthused enough about either one.
Didn't Dante finish the year out as the second quarter? I mean, second wide receiver
Yeah, I think so.
over
He
James
was
Washington.
because I want to say he was even. Let's see.
Because I think he finished the year as the second. I think he had better numbers than him,
Yeah, I'm
if
pretty
I'm not
sure his
mistaken.
numbers were better.
His numbers were definitely better because he finished the year out. Because James Washington had 735, 3 touchdowns, 80 targets, 44 receptions.
Yeah.
So he he didn't.
Deontay Johnson had 676 yards. He had 85 targets, 49 receptions. He had is that six? He had 6 touchdowns. Um, they all have potential.
Yeah,
It's hard to really go by their numbers from last year because their quarterback situation was just
was
awful to
horrible.
terribly awful. And I think that's kind
Yeah,
of why we have both of them ranked this low. We had Juju a bit higher, but even with Juju, I'm not that he's. I don't know. I targeted him big last year. I'm probably not gonna make that kind of jump on him this year.
I don't know. If the problem with Juju is the question is can he be
The
a
number
number
right,
one? Juju has to have a strong second receiver in order for him to
right.
be a good receiver on the other end. And I don't think Washington or Dante
Are gonna
actually
be that.
presents that right now.
Uh,
Because the fact that both of those guys, you don't know what you're gonna get every week from them.
right.
It ain't like when you had Antonio Brown there. You already knew he was drawing that double team, so Juju was always the one benefiting from that double team. Now that could be the case for Dante and James Washington.
Yeah.
Juju is getting double teamed by the fact that he's the number one receiver, and they're getting that single coverage. Does that help them? Yes, but Juju ain't did that last year, so now nobody's double teaming Juju this year. They're probably gonna run probably somebody over the top just because of the fact that he's fast, but they're not gonna basically run nobody down to double team him at all game. I don't see that happening, but I mean we can definitely concede, but I don't know. But with these, I guess with these guys in this list, you probably late
Yeah.
round. Um, if you're doing an 18 round draft, you probably can get them at 15, 16, like late
Right.
for real. Real late. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald might be the only one that might can go a little bit earlier than the tier
Right.
five. a little bit just based off his name and things of that nature. But I don't know. It just depends. So we gotta we moving on to tier
Yeah,
six.
I accidentally
It,
showed that a little early.
no, it's all
Yeah,
good.
my bad.
We got Paris Campbell, Brandon Ayuk, Randall Cobb, Corey Davis, Anthony Miller, Tyrell Williams, T. Higgins, Devin Funches, and Josh Reynolds. Um,
Mm,
Out of this list, I'm going my boy, Brandon
of
Ayuk.
course,
I
right.
mean,
I'm not mad at you.
come on, man. Come on. I think he's better than all these guys on this list, personally. Just because of the fact that he landed in a good
Yeah,
situation. He possibly can move into that second receiver spot if he stays productive or if he comes in and improves himself. But we got a lot of receivers out there, so it'd be hard for him trying to move in like that. So I don't know. It really depends on how he comes in and performs in the preseason, the 2 games anyway.
yeah.
Who you like on this list?
I don't like a whole lot of anybody. I'm just like I said, we're at the very last tier. We've had tier question marks for every other list. We didn't have tier question marks for this one because there's so many wide receivers. Yeah, that you're question marking a lot of guys. But there's some things I find intriguing in this list of
Mm-hmm.
fellas, and one of them was one of my sleepers, Paris Campbell, another guy that we didn't get to see a lot from, but they say he's like the Tyreek Hill of the Colts. He's got the
I
speed.
mean, that's
He's got the speed, so we'll see what happens with that. Um, but if I'm, and this is gonna sound extremely crazy for me, one of the guys I probably like the most on this list is Randall Cobb, which I
really
didn't expect to say, only because we talked about Brandon Cooks with the concussion issues. Uh, Whether
yes.
I think he's still number one. We talked about William Fuller; he's unreliable. So Cobb has a chance to put up some really good numbers. I think he was very underutilized in Green Bay when he was
Yeah.
there. But despite that, he didn't have he had a very impressive is probably the wrong word, but given the situation, he had over 800 yards last year with Green Bay, and that came off 83 targets, 55 receptions. I think he can top those numbers. You have a potential injury. Well, Randall Cobb's like old himself, so he could be injured
Yeah.
himself. But he played most of last year. But if there's an injury to Brandon Cooks or Fuller, Cobb has the potential to be 1,000 yard receiver this year, and you're gonna get him
Out
really, really low. Cause
late.
yeah, so I
Super late.
Cobb intrigues me. Whether he intrigues me enough to put the pen to paper and draft him in my leagues,
Mm, I, I don't know about that, but I
I don't
agree
know.
with you. I totally agree with you. I think it those guys just like you say, the injury bug between Fuller and Cook is just
Yeah,
terrible. Um, and Randall Cobb is a slot
yeah.
receiver, definitely. He's gonna play the slot. I just think you're right. I mean, you're
I didn't know
absolutely
he
right.
had 800 yards until we were doing our research. I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Now, I think the most interesting person on this list is Funches.
Yeah,
Devin
yeah.
Funches. And the reason I say that because they have no number 2 receiver in Green
No.
Bay. And I did not know he was in Green Bay until I did my
Mm-hmm.
research, by the way. Um, and I think he could be a number 2 in Green Bay, which
Yeah.
I guess that's why they didn't draft a receiver. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's crazy, but I mean, I would have drafted somebody over him. But I don't know. I don't know. I just think he could snatch that job up and
Yeah,
be
he could.
with Aaron Rodgers to be productive. So, because you already know who's taking the other
Yeah.
targets. I mean, obviously he's gonna get
Devontae
his.
Adams is going to be the
But
man. I think Aaron Jones.
yes,
We were talking about how we liked Aaron Jones until they drafted AJ Dillon, and then when we started doing this wide receiver list, we're like, you know what, Aaron Jones might be all right because,
he's
like
gonna
I
be
said,
all
there's
right.
really no
Yeah,
one for Aaron Rodgers to throw to. So
nobody.
yeah,
So I can see him. I mean, I can see him doing 600, 700 yards, just off the fact that that Adams is on the other side and Adams can get
Yeah,
his. You got to realize Adams had 3 yards short of 1,000 yards, and he missed 4 or 5 games
right.
last year. So I mean, you gonna see that Funch's going with this list. It's even more about
Yeah,
opportunity. You got to have opportunity even
Funches
more with
should
this
have that.
list. It's one guy we didn't talk about who we Michael Gallup. How do you feel about Michael Gallup, and do you think CeeDee Lamb takes his job or steals his targets?
Before I answer that question, let me acknowledge a comment. My mother is a Colts fan, and she's watching it, so she's rooting for Paris Campbell. Uh, let's see. Uh, if T.Y. Hilton is not healthy, Campbell could really jump up a lot because T.Y. Hilton missed a lot of games. But yeah, Campbell's another one of those guys that intrigued me. That's why I put him in there. Uh, Going back to Gallup, Amari Cooper is obviously the star.
Yes.
C.D. Lamb, I think, is a star in the making. Uh, Gallup is, I think, the man left out because
You
uh,
do?
he has time. We did a discussion about the Cowboys wide receivers last year, and
Hmm.
Gallup and Amari Cooper were not that far apart from each other when you look at their stats. But I think if one of them is going to lose their standing because of C.D. Lamb's arrival, I think it's Gallup. And so, when we
That's that's tough, man. I don't know about that, man. I mean, you cannot replace
yeah,
66 receptions, 113 targets, and
uh-huh.
1107 and 6 touchdowns.
And yet and
I
still we had him
mean,
ranked as we had Gallup as I show it. We had Gallup in our tier 5 spot
it
right
does.
there.
I
So
mean, the thing
so
is,
we obviously didn't have a lot of faith in him.
we don't, but I just feel like that's tough, though,
Yeah,
man. Like
it's a tough drop.
that's a tough drop, man, for you to actually drop that low. Because I think CeeDee Lamb is better than him, obviously.
Yeah, I think in the
CeeDee
long run,
Lamb,
C.D. Lamb's going to be better than Amari Cooper.
I believe
Yeah,
that too.
you might.
In about a year or
Yeah,
two,
yeah, exactly.
definitely in a year or two. I mean, if you look at the way they structured, if the way they did Amari Cooper's contract, really is a 2 year deal, and they can get out of it
Yeah,
in 2 years. Now, does CeeDee Lamb take that job as a number one receiver in 2 years? I definitely can see that.
yeah, I think he does.
With time and getting his route tree and practice down, I can definitely see him taking that. He might can take it in a year. It depends on the offense and the way it's ran. But I just feel like Michael Gallup, that's tough, man. That's
Yeah,
definitely tough to kind of. I don't know.
yeah.
On anybody else's team, Michael Gallup would be a little bit
All
higher
right.
on this list, but I don't know. Um, Now we were just talking about rookies,
Uh,
and I think we both agreed on one rookie uh, not too long ago, in T. Higgins.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of
If
T.
I'm in a
Higgins.
dynasty league, I am buying big on T. Higgins for the long run. I'm not a
Yep.
huge fan for this year, though,
No, no,
especially if
no,
AJ Green is
definitely not.
healthy. But I believe T. Higgins is going to be something spectacular. And the fact that you're getting T. Higgins and Burrow coming in together, that's again for dynasty. That's a connection that's going to be good for you in the long run. I think it's going to be hard for him to surpass Tyler Boyd, AJ Green,
Yeah.
and even what was his name, Brown, uh, from last year.
Uh,
Uh,
talk. Go to. Is it
no,
Tate?
it's of course I'm not gonna remember his name.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you're
Uh,
talking about. I can't remember his name. It's right on
it
the tip of
comes
my
back
tongue.
to John Ross. John Ross.
Yeah, John Ross. I
That's
don't
the
know,
guy.
man. I don't know.
Hey,
No,
I'm just
no,
saying.
no,
Or
no,
Auden Tate.
no,
Neither of these guys I'm
no, no,
drafting.
no.
I wouldn't draft either one of
No.
them, but they both had. decent numbers last year. Higgins is going to be better than them, obviously. I give you that. He's going to be
Yes.
better than both of those. But still, to me, maybe third on that. If
Now the
AJ Green
question
is
is,
hurt like he was last year, then I like Higgins more this year.
yeah, but the question is, do you really believe in John Ross?
No,
All right,
that's all I'm saying.
because
That's
they
a
did,
Higgins is going to be better than them, but I'm just saying there's mouths to
because
feed
they
in
didn't
Cincinnati.
John.
But the good thing about Cincinnati is they're also going to be awful. So there's mouths to feed, and there's going to be a lot of passing coming out of the Bengals.
Well, they didn't extend John Ross this year.
Yeah,
So the thing is, John Ross. I mean, he got something to prove if he can,
yeah,
because he was hurt last year. So if he can stay healthy this year, but I will say this: before he got hurt, he was good before he got hurt.
yeah.
But I don't think that's something he does on a regular though.
Right.
Because I think, like you said, AJ Green coming back, Tyler Boyd, Higgins. I just think there's no room for John Ross this year
Yeah,
to be any type of productive for anybody. Because that's the case, he would have made our list. He
yeah.
did.
He did not.
So, so, I doubt it seriously. Anybody else on this list, I really don't.
Yeah, everyone else on this list, I think, is a flyer. Maybe Corey Davis is interesting. Uh,
Uh,
Reynolds, they say they the fact that they got rid of Brandon Cooks means that they like Reynolds in the long run, but I'm not picking him. I'm going for Cooper Cup and Roy Wood and Robert Woods, who we had as both as
yeah,
tier two wide receivers. After that, I'm not really that interested in anyone else out there
nah,
in Los
I don't.
Angeles.
Now I got one question before we get out of here. Anybody from tier three, who do you think could possibly move into those tier one, tier two?
All right, going back to the top of the show, who we had in tier three. Let me remind the audience of who those guys are. Um, if I'm looking over this tier three group, I think it's gonna be like I said. I like Metcalf out of this list. I kind of like Ridley. Those are my favorite two out of this list. I'm not really
Okay.
feeling comfortable enough to go with uh, anyone from the Bengals or the Browns as potentially reaching higher up as tier one. Um, we've seen Chark. I don't think we said much about Chark uh, today,
His
other than
numbers was
mentioning,
very impressive, though. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
he had some impressive numbers.
Are you a big minstrel guy, though?
No,
Yeah.
no,
The
no.
fact that it's Jacksonville kind of scares me. But
I
I
mean,
mean,
the
hey,
fact that,
he hit 1,000 last year. He hit the targets 118. I'm looking at.
but
He's
the
our
fact that they're
potential
gonna be
guys.
losing a lot of games, I mean, that's gonna
Yeah.
be he's gonna get his targets. I mean, looking at this list, who could possibly move to a tier one? I love DK.
Yeah. DK is a good.
I think DK will definitely probably move up. Debo. I mean, what kind of question is that? I think Debo moves up.
Right.
Debo definitely. I, I'm on the fence. I don't know about Odell, but I think if Odell, because they say he's healthy,
Hmm.
they say he's 100% healthy. I still don't think. I still think he's right where he need to be, and I think Julian Edelman has a really good year this year. I think with Cam, I'm really interested to see what all those receivers do with Cam, man. That's a big, big thing for me. Cam in New England with Bill Belichick. How does that work out, man,
Hey,
for those receivers?
I guess we're gonna find out.
Man, that's exciting, man. I can't wait, honestly. Um, but I think that's all we got,
Yeah.
man. You know,
That's our top to bottom list. So we have our wide receivers. We've talked running backs. We've talked quarterbacks. The next thing we have to discuss are those little small things like defenses and defensive players, maybe
yeah,
kickers. we might.
Kid Curse, Lord have
There's only
mercy.
other guys left, so I guess we'll
And and
get
also,
back
I
to
want to
that.
say thank you.
Hmm?
Thank you for everybody that has subscribed to the page. Let your friends know. Let your family know. And we got something special coming up down
Yeah,
the line. We got a top 200 coming up. We're gonna have a little special show for
yeah.
y'all. So stay
Stay
tuned for
tuned.
that.
We'll let you know.
Definitely. But we appreciate y'all. Really, we do. And keep supporting us, man. For real. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Find us, support us, subscribe to us, and we appreciate it.
All right. Well, see you back here next week.